Evening, people, and welcome to Born and Red, and welcome to another Red Zone. It's been this week had a bit of a. I think we reflected Liverpool's transfer strategy this week. We banged out a two, three shows. I think it was even four shows, maybe early in the week, and then we went a bit quiet, and we couldn't quite work out what the reasons were, why we're not doing another show, or even couldn't even work out why the sort of what was the sort of thing regarding Henderson's and Fabinho's deal? Why was it all of a sudden gone quiet? But whether it was payment structures or sort of like looking for schools, or even I don't know what other reasons can you give why Liverpool maybe had a delay? Maybe paperwork. But as we know, we were all barking up the wrong tree, and as you know, those rumors were a load of bull. Pardon the pun, guys. Pardon the pun. But we know the reasons why exactly Liverpool have been delayed with the Fabinho deal. Avi is obviously not impressed with my puns, but with me tonight is my two best mates. I won't call you dogs, guys. I'll call you my best mates.
Have you to game today?
Oh, I was gonna say that. But I'll be respectful. Avi seems in a bad mood tonight. But how are we doing, boys? How you been finding the break? I'll go with the chip. How are we?
Yeah, good 3 days. Just 3, 4 days. I was manic at work. I'm still tired actually. But listen, Sundays calls for the red zone. Sunday calls for Born and Red. To come back on the stream and the channels and on YouTube. So here we are. But no, it's been a quiet week. The calm before the storm. And your puns and everything, Asim, they're getting much better.
Oh,
compared to
better.
you compared to where you were 6 months ago. You're making giant strides, so you deserve that cup of tea. But all in all, it's been good. I'm looking forward to the friendly tomorrow. Now we've seen a taster of what's to come. We saw some goals in the Karlsruhe game. I'm looking forward to tomorrow morning, even though it's a 4 a.m. kickoff for me. But I'll be definitely up early and using your LFC to go, Asim, your login details to watch the game.
Oh, no problem. As long as you don't put them on Twitter, it's fine. Jean, how are we doing? Are you going to be watching the game tomorrow, or should we do what's he call it, like a watch along? Or I don't think his game is big enough. I
I've
don't
got a
think his
wedding.
game is big enough.
Behave
You got
yourself, Ilya. Behave
You got
yourself.
wedding.
Gene's the only Asian. Gene's the only Asian ever to have weddings on the weekdays.
I've got a
Unheard
wedding
of. Besides
tomorrow.
on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but you have weddings on
Listen,
a
I'm
Monday.
gonna watch the game though. I'm gonna watch the game.
You
But generally speaking, I'm good. I had the wedding yesterday, and then
Mhm.
luckily they've got their day off today, so I can do the show, and then tomorrow's day too. So
No
it's been
wonder
a
Jean's.
wedding weekend.
Did they
No
work
wonder.
around
Yeah,
did the
no
wedding
wonder,
couple?
no wonder. I know
Did
you're gonna say
the,
no wonder.
Jean's,
did the
Jean's,
did the wedding couples work around you, Gene? Did they
Yeah,
work around your
standard,
schedule? Yeah.
I
obviously.
mean, we should know there's some sort of special occasion coming up. Just look at his beard; he's looking nice and brown. Look at it, man.
All fresh, fresh, man.
Show us the hair, Gene. Now show us the hair, innit? Just let's see the top. Let's see the top.
Oh, no, that's saving that, saving that.
But let's get to Liverpool. The weddings. Let's put the weddings to a side. We're all happily married, and yeah, it's all downhill after a couple of months. But it's a big week ahead, Avi. It's a big, massive week ahead. Not just because we've got a friendly tomorrow, but the manager has publicly said that signings will happen, and it's kind of good that he's sort of publicly adamant. Sort of said that because we know we need personnel coming through the door because we fly out. I think it's Friday or Saturday to Singapore. If you're going to spend some time with new signings, you need that time on the training pitch, and no better than pre-season. And we're going to get 2-3 weeks out of them. Then we need those at least one, if not two. Obviously, three will be unbelievably good, but at least one signing coming through, and we need that DM positioning sorting out. And but how do you see it? How do you see Liverpool reacting? Do we have someone lined up already? We're just waiting for some sort of official confirmation with these deals. Once the paperwork comes through for Fabinho and Henderson's medical apparently is already done. But it's a big week ahead, and Liverpool are at a crossroads that they cannot get wrong.
Yeah, and I think they play on the following Tuesday, not this Tuesday, the following Tuesday, their first game in Singapore. So we presume they'll probably fly out on Wednesday, Thursday. Obviously the flight time, it's probably like a 12:30 now flight from Germany where they'll fly from. So it is a long haul flight. In terms of, I'd be surprised if we're not talking to players, Asim. Of course, there's a lot of noise out there in the media that we're talking to so and so. I think we're probably talking to about 3, 4 midfielders.
Wow.
I think
Wow.
we're talking to 3, 4 midfielders, and then taking our pick. I think the Saudi takeover in football, or the Saudi transfer market, the Saudi stock market. I think, oh, he's gone, and he'll be back. I think what's happened is, I think they've confused the whole window, Gene, and you can come in on this. I think, I think Mitrovic, I've just heard, is going out on a £50 million deal to El Halal right now. I just see Fabrizio's tweet. So I think what's happened is, I think they've changed the outlook of the transfer market, and we will look at players. I think we're just waiting. I think players that we didn't think were going to become available are becoming available. And I think it's one of those, whichever one we're talking to, whichever representatives that we're talking to a certain midfielders, we'll get the deal of the line. Ideally, before Singapore, we should get one in. But I know Klopp. We all know Klopp. We know he's prepared to bide his time. His interview was quite telling, where he said, "Listen, there's business will be done. There's more business to come." So I'm not worried. And he looked very, very relaxed in his interview on LFC, on LFC.tv. I think they were in Germany, where he's from, and he was just talking very relaxed, and he
Mm.
seemed confident of, he trusts the board to stump up the money for midfielders and new players.
Mm. Gene, we were at that first fixture against Fulham last season, and we were off the back of the massive quadruple chasing season. We expected to go again, but we could see the mental and physical fatigue in the players. But Jurgen Klopp, in that sort of interview that Avi talks about, he was very relaxed. And one thing that he mentioned, that he saw the fire in the players, that he could see the players mean business. And obviously every manager probably sees this sort of thing. They've just come back from a break, but what Liverpool players went through last season, it was a long slog last season. But to see that fire, and he mentioned that we've done 3-4 things a bit differently, but they still have that fire in the belly, and that's only can mean a very good thing for Liverpool going on to next season.
100% Asim. And in the interview, what I found striking was he mentioned the word, "We are going to strike back." And how do you actually strike back? You strike back by doing more. So I think this, and I know we speak about the word intensity quite a bit, but he mentioned the word intensity, that we want to basically take it to another sort of level. There's 4 or 5 players that have left the club. There's a few, obviously, new additions that have come in, and it gives the youngsters a massive chance. He mentioned Dork, and about how sort of happy he was with, in terms of his bravery, and he's seen the youngsters grow massively, even in the year that we've seen from last season to this season, in the last year. And look, from whoever watched that sort of interview, that could only mean, that there's something that's sort of brewing at Anfield right now. And look, I was over the moon, Asim, if I'm honest with you, when I heard the interview, because we faced adversity previously where we've had a bad season, but we've been good enough to come back the next season and go again. So it's not like Jurgen Klopp and his team haven't been through any of this previously. So look, I've got no issues. I think, and he also mentioned trust us. So I think it's time we actually trust Jurgen Klopp, and not that we don't trust him. We have, and I know last season, people might have the argument of saying Jurgen Klopp is the same manager that came out last season and said we've got enough in the midfield tank, but he's actually come out and said we are going to sign players. So we have to trust Jurgen Klopp. We've got to trust the team that these guys will go again, starting in pre-season and when the season kicks off.
I mean, you could say that the manager was asking to trust him last season, to trust the sort of judgment of the coaching staff as well. Again, I've mentioned it 2-3 times, that famous interview with the Anfield rap and Neil Atkinson, where he went through all those midfielders and said, give me an attribute that we're missing. Can you see some similarities with that interview and what he's been saying lately?
Yeah, and I think what we've got to do is take it with a pinch of salt. I'm sorry, Gene. I know you're saying, and like I've said as well, Klopp seems very relaxed, he's very confident, but he does say this every summer. Whether he protects the owners or he just, he doesn't want to get into like a whole sort of, do I or don't I? He admitted in that interview as well that he pretty much admitted that he was wrong. They did get it wrong. The whole team, the whole coaches, Last season they did get it wrong. The whole analytical team, he takes blame. He takes responsibility, which he's always never shied away from. He always takes responsibility. You can't, and that shows you what a great manager he is. And he's saying, listen, I will fix this issue. He said it in the 2021 season when we finished third, in that code hit season when we had all our defenders injured. He said, listen, next season we'll go again. And we did go again. So we've just got to trust him. Yes, I'm loving the words that are coming out of him. He has said similar words every summer. But Asim, I believe there's a bit more conviction this summer because of the deals that we've done before with McAllister and Szoboszlai getting through the door. Szoboszlai is one that came out of nowhere. We paid the release clause. There's no complaints there. But like Gene says, we've got to push on now and get the right players in. And for me, it is quantity. We want to make sure that we don't leave ourselves short. I don't want to see one DM come in. We need to see two defensive midfielders come in at 6 and a hybrid between a 6 and an 8, and then a defender as well. We can't sell ourselves short.
Gene, you mentioned that Jurgen Klopp mentioned sort of the word trust. He also mentioned a couple of times responsibility. Do you think he was saying to the players that he won't accept? Because he actually mentioned, he goes, look, what is a counter press? What is Liverpool winning the ball back? What is, Liverpool playing at a high intensity? And he mentioned about Liverpool being on the ball and his players not providing an option. He mentioned, look, you don't have to receive the ball to create a situation. You sometimes have to do a self run, go on the overlap, movement, and you don't need to play professional football to work out. If you move, you create space for your, sort of teammate, and you create a situation. It was telling for me that he mentioned this. Clearly, he wasn't sort of happy with the pressing and the counter press and how Liverpool won the ball back, but also what sort of positions they were taking up when on the ball as well. And it was sort of alarming to me that he mentioned this, but what did you make of it?
Asim, Jurgen Klopp mentioned in the actual interview that he wanted his team to be the best in every single aspect of the game. The high press, the counter press. He actually mentioned the pressing teams. Like I mentioned, it's all about raising the bar in every single aspect of that field, because he knows how bad this team was last season. He mentioned that we were average, and yet still he also said we were very close to still making top 4, but there's still a long way to go. He messed the best in counter presses, the best in deep defending, best in every single area. So fair play to him. Look, end of the day, he knows where he went wrong. He's, like I mentioned previously, he knows what needs to be done. And he said, trust us. And I trust Jurgen Klopp because, like I mentioned previously, he's been through this before. He's been through where we had let's say, not the best of seasons. And then the season after, we've gone on to go for the quadruple. And like you mentioned, he sees the fire in their eyes. He mentioned that a few times about the word fire in that interview. And you could see that he's a lot more relaxed. He looks like he's ready to go again. And more importantly, the players are ready to go again. And he mentioned that the new players in terms of McAllister and Szoboszlai, that when you come to a new club, what's one of the most important things? You do the legs do the talking. And we've seen that already with Szoboszlai winning the whatever it was that he won and all that sort of thing. So these players have hit the ground running straight away. And it's just about him, Jurgen Klopp, getting the support, the extra support that he needs now, with Hendo and Fabinho more or less out. Give him the support that he needs, and then he'll have the armor to go again next season. And I think that, look, he looks like he's relaxed, and he looks like he is going to get the armor that's required for us to crack on next season.
And as of not only that, there's been a changing of the guard in this team as well. We've seen experienced players gone: Naby, Ox, Milner, Firmino. That quadrant, right? That quad of players is huge. Forget about the impact that they didn't have on the pitch. They're all big characters. Ox was a big character. We know that every preseason, he'd be doing the video shooting and he'd be mixing amongst the lads and welcoming everyone. Then you had Naby, always a bit of a character as well. Bobby, we already know of, and James Milner. He's one of those who lets the new players settle in, looks after them, and obviously we know he sets the bar as well. Henderson and Fabinho have gone as well. Those 6 players are absolutely big players for this football club. Yes, majority of them needed moving on. But if they've given any hint to Klopp, especially the latter two, Henderson and Fabinho, that they might have been interested to look at a new venture elsewhere, he wasn't going to stand in their way. And I honestly believe that this new sort of, I don't think it's a ruthless approach, but this new different approach from Klopp, I think it's gonna it's going to do well for him. Like, going forward, I think these are the way we need to act. Any player that he feels, is getting towards that end of that Liverpool spectrum and saying he's not going to quite cut it, he needs to make quick decisions. And look, we've given ourselves plenty of times to get the adequate replacements in. Singapore or not, in the way, I'm sure we will do business. And I'm sure business is getting done behind the scenes.
Let's see what he said. He said there are so many things to do, said the 56-year-old when asked about the summer schedule. The transfers window is open. If my day would have 28 hours at the moment, it would not be a problem. I could fill them easily. And he went on to say still 3.5 weeks until the first game of the season. A few things have to happen before then, definitely transfer market wise as well. That is clear now, and it will happen. New players have to come in. We will have a good team. As some of the comments have been saying, that he didn't get asked this, he actually said it himself, and that is, really optimistic as far as the fans are concerned, that he wants action, and he's adamant and optimistic and positive that action will take place. It has to, because Gene, we are at a crossroads now. I mentioned earlier that Liverpool, in terms of, some fans have been saying, like, he actually admitted that he wants to play a possession-based type of style. I don't think so. Every manager wants to be the best in every department, like you said, whether it's the counter press, whether it's high intensity, whether it's the possession-based type of style. Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp, and he got asked by, I forgot his name from LFC TV.
I forgot his name as well.
Avi, you're normally good with names.
Just call him Sherlock Holmes for all I care. I don't care. Just call him whatever.
Okay.
It's only a reporter, man.
Yeah, he's a Liverpool reporter, man. He works for the in-house club channel, sorry. But anyway, he got asked, how do you make Liverpool the team that everybody hates playing against? Because when Jurgen Klopp came 7 years ago, he made Liverpool. When Liverpool came up with the fixture list, people thought, bloody hell, them again. And how do we make them? And he said, look, we need to be the best in every area. But how do you tell me, how do Liverpool now put that right? Because there are some people saying we need a destroyer. We have to get a like-for-like replacement for Fabinho, another sort of option that can play in the 6 and the 8, like Henderson. But some fan base, and there's a growing amount of them, Gene, that's saying we need to go and get rid of this. We've gone sort of one step towards the possession-based type of football, but now it's the onus is on us to complete that and get someone like Trent in the DM role or Kimmich and play total football. How do you see it, and what do you want Liverpool to do?
Look, Asim, I've, on here last week, I mentioned I wanted 2 players, one a destroyer and one a Kimmich. So if I had a choice between two of the players, just because it gives us options, and I think, one of the questions was, who do I see as the 2 players coming in? Kimmich and Lavia for me are the 2 players, and that's one of the reasons why it just gives us options. We've got the destroyer in Lavia, and we've got the possession-based player in terms of Kimmich. Well, of course, with Kimmich have been on stupid wages, let's say of 300 grand a week plus, I just can't see that happening. So I think personally, a lot of players that people are saying we need a destroyer, and I get that, and we need one. That goes without saying, Asim, because you can't go into any season without one destroyer. It just doesn't make sense. We've lost Fabinho, and arguably, let's say Hendo could play that sort of 6th role, and he has played that sort of role over the last few years when Fabinho's been injured. But if we're just with the players that we've got left, we have to bring one in. And even if he wants to play a possession-based team, he could put Trent in there. We've got Thiago that can play there. And if he was to sign another possession-based player, fine, no issue. But you can't go into a season without a destroyer. Because against the big game, against the big size, let's say the Man Cities, and let's say in Europe, towards the end of when we're in the Europa League and in the business end of the season, you have to have one, because every game matters, every game counts. You need somebody, and plus we struggled massively at times in transition last season. Even towards the end of last season, we struggled. That is one area that needs massive improvement. And I genuinely believe that if you don't get a destroyer, how is that really going to improve that side of game, the side of game, if Trent is coming inverted? So now, man, you have to bring in a destroyer. We need 2. I don't want to see one, because one is not enough, unless it's a Caicedo, fine. Other than that, we have to bring in 2 players.
It's got to be someone that, like, look, Gene says destroyer, and it's easy saying, and there's players out there that we refer to as a destroyer, but I think it needs to be a little bit more. They need a little bit more sort of elevation in their play. Look at Rodri. He's the all complete midfielder. He's just not a sitting six. Yeah, we've had discussions off the channels on WhatsApp group previously about Rodri, and we all agree now that he is the best DM in the world. He's got so many facets to his game. He can pop up with a goal. He can move the ball forward. He can get progressive. Around that center circle, he's the best defensive minded midfielders around. He gives so much protection to the back too, and we see how City attack at every opportunity. We've seen a transition in Stones' play, who's playing further forward, who's playing in a midfield role and looking comfortable. There's only one player out there in terms of what I want, like that hybrid six. I call it a hybrid six now, and that's Zubimendi. And I know Gene will say Caicedo. Caicedo for me, yes, all complete player, can pass the ball, versatile, can play out right back if needed to cover for Trent when Trent bombs forward. Okay. But Zubimendi is the one that if we want a total possession-based football alongside a Trent or alongside Thiago, that is your possession-based football. Not only in just the home games, away games as well. For me, he would be the a la carte of sixes because he's got everything. He's got all the facets to his game, and he loves a tackle. He loves getting his shorts dirty. Loves a slide tackle as well. Covers yards, covers ground, covers kilometers on that pitch. And that's Sociedad, and I know there's people saying that he's hell bent on staying, but look, if Klopp has a word with him and changes his vision, changes sort of his ambition, he would be for me number one.
Yeah, 100%. Tafsir is coming with a comment. Thank you very much for the comment, Tafsir. He says, "Don't sleep on Bajcetic. He's going to be our new superstar that we never knew we had. Thank God for injuries in the midfield last season. Maybe look, we finished in the Europa League, but him getting injured maybe was a part of it, but it wasn't his fault. At the end of the day, the kid broke down. But are we sleeping on the kid?
100%. But again, I don't see he's going to be. I've said it, and we said it last week. In 18 months' time, he won't be a six for us. He'll be an 8. He's got.
I don't think
again.
So.
No, I do. I honestly do. Asim, I think he'll be like our Chess Fabregas. I think he's that talented. Yes, he can do a job in a 6, right? And that's where he will primarily learn his trade at the beginning. But he's got so much tools in his game. He's like, I don't know if you remember, Gene might remember, you might have been too young, Asim. Valeron of Deportivo La Coruña.
I mentioned that name to you, remember? I actually mentioned
amazing player. And I can see the similarities of Bajcetic against Villa, that darting run when Nunes crosses it. He's got that in his game. I'm saying in 18 months' time. Bajcetic is going to be a number 8. And you'll see it. And we'll come to this conversation, Asim, Gene. Not for you, for him. Let me talk now. Just mind your manners, Asim. We'll come to this conversation in a few months. In 18 months' time, Gene. If I'm still at this channel, if I haven't moved elsewhere, we'll come to this conversation again. I'm telling you, Bajcetic is. Look, you guys know my thoughts on Bajcetic, right? I've said it last season that look, this guy, don't sleep on him because Pep Linders, all the coaches love this player. He came through last season, got his opportunity. Maybe no fault of his own because of the injuries that we had at Liverpool. But Stefan Bajcetic is the real deal. But whether we can risk him alongside a new 6 like a Romeo Lavia, I think we lack the experience when we want to buy a 6.
What I mean by him not being an 8 is in this system, because an 8 is not a normal 8 in this system. Avi, that 8 needs to be a 10.
Yeah, like Szoboszlai, and I can see him doing it.
Can he receive the
I
ball?
can see him. Asim, I can see him doing it. Yes.
Look, he may develop.
Avi, you just like to hype certain players up, man.
St. James's Park away this season. St. James's Park away this season, away from home. I don't know if you guys remember the game. 2-0 we won, or 2-1 it was with the red card when they received Nick Pope got sent off.
Yeah, I was there.
Look at Bajcetic. Look how progressive Bajcetic was. Pick the ball in the half turn. Pick the ball in the half spaces. He was getting in those intricate positions like McAllister and Szoboszlai will next season. And he was very comfortable in position. Okay. He started off both goals as well. So
can I just say, both you mentioned Newcastle. I remember that game perfectly. Trent's ball, amazing pass, and Nunes scored that goal. So I don't know where you got Bajcetic from, started the move, right? Number 1. Number 2, that game, the only thing I can remember from that game is, I don't know how we won that game because we got absolutely outplayed when the team had moved. Newcastle were down to 10 men. So that's the only thing I remember. Bajcetic for me, Avi, is not a 10. He's a 6, max 8. When you start bringing comparisons with Valeron was a exquisite 10. That just, I don't know where you're getting that from. From what you've seen,
you're the same guy that laughed at suggesting that Trent moving into midfield as well. Same guy that suggested that Trent would not transition into a midfield. Not you, Asim. I'm talking about him.
Let me finish. See,
Talking-
this is the
are you
guy.
talking
From what we've
bollocks?
seen, from what we've seen of Bajicic so far, he's a 6, max 8. This guy wants him to play a 10.
You've seen a few months of him, TK. You've seen a few months of him, yes or no? I've seen this guy from youth level come up, Gene. Even through his injuries, he has
What have you
all the
seen that
facets to
makes
play
him a 10?
an 8
So
or
what have you
10.
seen that makes him a number 10? Explain to me, because I want to
Comfortable in
know.
possession. Comfortable in possession.
That doesn't make
He's
you. That doesn't
ball
make you a
playing.
10.
Avi,
He's
when
very
you say Avi, when you say he's very progressive, it's the ball and the game in front of him. When you say he's comfortable in possession, that's when the ball and the game is in front of him. Can he receive it on the edge of the box? Tell me, yes or no.
Yes,
At the
he
moment,
can. Yes,
in
he
tight
can.
spaces.
He can probably do a better job than Elliot in an 8-10 right now. And don't tell me he couldn't. He probably could.
Avi,
And we know
Elliot-
Klopp wants.
everything,
We know Klopp's going to play Elliot in an 8-10 in some games this season, away from home or in the Europa League. Or at home. He's going to play Elliot in an 8-10. And I'm telling you, you put Bajicic on that right hand side or the left hand side, he'll do a better job than Elliot, probably on par with the Curtis Jones in that 10 role.
Because look, he'd play it differently. Bajicic, because he's more of a 6 and 8.
All this different. It's
No,
people
look,
like
I tell
you
you,
two
I tell
both
you.
that make the game complicated.
No, because look, no, Avi, look,
No,
listen to
because
me.
you guys, you guys,
Avi,
you guys force
can I
yourselves
have 2
to say
minutes?
he can't play that position. You've seen him 3-4 months.
Okay,
We've
look.
seen Trent, and from day one with Trent, I always said this guy will be a midfielder. He will play way forward than he is at right back, right? And we've seen it inverted role, but we will even see Trent in a 4-3-3. We'll see him as an RCM at times this season. We will see it.
I said he can
Southgate's
play
trying it already. Southgate is already trying it with him.
Right.
said he
One
can
second.
play
Southgate's already.
I've just put Avi. One second. I've just put up literally 20 comments of people. For once, I've got admin rights, so Avi can't faff about and put whatever he wants, mate. I've just put up 20 comments and everybody agrees with me. I've asked him to talk about something else because it's not pity.
No. Look, Avi.
I don't know what he's on about, man. He's talking
What?
about Bajicic in a 10.
Either have an articulate
Avi,
conversation or don't, or let's move on to topics.
When you
That's
start
it, simple.
talking
It's
crap
simple.
like that, I've got
Avi,
30
look,
people agreeing with me.
Avi,
You
look,
don't know what he's on about.
Avi, look. In the midfield, yeah, for
He's named
example,
4 or 5 people that said he's not a 6. How many people agree
Avi,
that he's
Avi,
a 6?
Scroll up, mate. Scroll up. Keep scrolling, and you'll see
Avi,
at least 20.
Avi, the difference. Look, let me just explain
Thank
it to
you.
you. The difference.
I won't be.
between-
Look. You guys have seen him 3 months of football. That's all you've seen of him.
I know
Gene,
that-
don't say you watch reserve team football because you don't.
He
TK.
thinks
Okay,
it's good enough
move
to
on.
play. He
Move
thinks
on.
it's good enough to
No,
he thinks it's good enough to play
move
centre
on,
back.
Avi,
nah.
No.
the topic-
He thinks it's
Hush
good enough
up
to play
one minute.
centre back. He's good enough to play right back. He's good enough to play 6. He's good enough to play 8. He's good enough to play 10. Tomorrow he's going to say he's replaced of Salah.
Avi,
This is a boggle this guy is.
Avi, look, 2 things. You mentioned Bajicic and Trent. I'm going to explain the difference between the 2 systems now. Yeah. When we have the ball, for example, in the previous system, which was a 4-3-3 as well, Trent was inverting in the second phase. So when he was coming into the midfield, just like he is now after the system change, it was alongside Thiago and Fabinho. And then he was like that right-sided midfielder where he'd go on the overlap, he'd go into half space. He had a bit of a free role, like if you like. But in this system, in Bajicic, if he's going to play the right-sided midfielder role, then you have responsibilities, just like Gundogan and just like De Bruyne and just like Szoboszlai and just like McAllister will have as well on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. Because he has both options. Then you have to receive the ball on the half turn on the edge of the box and play both roles. Go on the onside, hug the touchline. I think he can do a Henderson type of role in this current system where he can go on the overlap. He's got a decent delivery. He's got a decent switch as well. He can do that. I don't know how good. Maybe I need to see him. But if you're expecting him to be in tight spaces and be on the half turn and pick a pass and break lines and play that through ball to Nunes, I think you're expecting too much for the kid at the moment. If he can develop into that.
Who the fuck said at the moment, though? I said 18 months' time. You two jump on your high horses time again and start saying now. I've said primarily he's going to be used as a 6. You listen. Where's your ears? He's got AirPods on. I'm not sure if he's got the anti-noise level.
You said we're sleeping.
I said in 18 months' time, you're going to see, like Klopp's doing with Trent, you're going to see him transition into a hybrid 8 or even a 10. You guys don't believe it. We will see. We will come back to this show. We won't delete it from YouTube. It's going to be there. And I will prove. I will be proved. I will be proved yet again. Right. I will prove. I promise you. I've been harping on about Trent for the last 2 years, 3 years, that this guy will be a midfielder. He will play far more progressive than he is at right back. We've seen it. So we'll come back to this conversation. We'll
Okay,
come back to
fair
this
enough, fair
conversation.
enough.
Leave it open-ended. Take it open-ended book. If Dean knows that quote or not, I'm not sure. Open-ended chapter. Take it. We'll come back to it in 18 months' time.
Okay, what we are gonna come to, okay, we'll leave it to. But in terms of Trent in midfield, Avi, even Gene said, look, he can play that role, but Trent is sort of his strengths are when he's receiving the ball in a sort of not tight spaces where he's got time on the ball. Trent's sort of best sort of strength is his passing. It's not his dribbling, even though he can do and drive into midfield. We've seen that. But why should we eradicate that problem? And this is the same with Bajcetic. At the moment, he's best on the ball with a bit of space, and he's really sort of aggressive in the
At the
tackle.
moment, you've seen him for 5 minutes. You know what's best for him at the moment. Baskar, yeah, please.
At
Let's
the
carry on the
moment.
conversation. Carry on the
At the
conversation.
moment.
Come on.
At the
Let's carry on.
moment.
It's going to get boring. Come on, carry on.
When Avi is getting stuck, he just says, "Let's move on." He
Because
throws
it's
the
going to be no one's going to agree with. We're not going to agree with one another.
well,
Asim,
the comments are agreeing with
You guys get rescout and all that. Do your thingy. I know what I see to the eye. I know a footballer when I see. I don't need stats or possessions and all this and telling me Harvey Elliott's underrated. You don't know he's a duelist or he's a assister beyond the pre-assister. I don't need that bollocks. When I see a footballer, I see whether he's a good fit and where
yeah,
he can
just
fit in
like
that
you
team.
see
That's
your
it.
ITK, just like you see all these signings that Liverpool are going to make in a month's time, just like you saw the in November Liverpool are getting
Someone-
taken over, just like you saw all of that.
Someone
Yeah?
already
See,
someone
that's all
already
that you
called me
saw all
out.
of
Someone
that.
already called me out. Look, someone already
Like
called
your
me out.
football
Look, Ali.
knowledge, your football
Ali.
knowledge is as good as bloody
Ali,
your
blue chip, biggest
ITK
wobbler.
knowledge.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Okay, TK.
Everyone knows the role I play.
But Gene, let's stick with Trent for a second. The hot sort of topic at the moment is Trent in the DM role, and it sort of escalated because the manager played him in that DM role. Some would say we just didn't have a choice. But can we read something into that? That Trent is starting in that deep six role at the base of the midfield. Would you like to see him? And look, it's probably overlaps with the conversation that we already had in terms of having that destroyer. But he's such a good, intelligent footballer. But can you see him have a role in a sort of destroyer type, even though obviously he's not a destroyer, but the base of midfield? Can you see him there next season?
Look, Asim, right now, especially with Fabinho and Hendo going, there's a chance that he might play in that sixth role, let's say against the lesser sides at Anfield, right? But generally speaking, I don't think that was the plan, because the plan was for Fabinho to stay and he would have played the inverted role coming in. That was the plan. But obviously, with the plan changing, if we do now bring in one or two players, maybe we'll see Trent playing in the actual six on occasions. But to say that that's going to be his position, I still can't see that happening, because number one, you need to sign a proper right back, and we haven't got one. And I think I can see who's going for midfielders over that position. So yes, there's going to be instances. Look, Asim, with Trent, we know in terms of how good he is. He's arguably going to be one of the best players to ever grace English football. Be it playing right back, be it playing six, be it playing inverted. That's how good he is. But what I will say is, when I saw him in the few times that when he comes inside, because he's slightly more forward, and he's able to it's just not about pinging in the long ball now. He's got the players in front of him to play the short passes, which is going to create a lot more triangles and create, let's say, 4 or 5 players ahead, which is going to cause us give us a lot more attacking threat. So look, I don't mind that in certain games. Do I think that's going to happen in terms of that's going to be the way we're going to play? Probably not, because I think we are going to still bring in the midfielders. But right now, we have, like you mentioned, I think we don't really have a choice, because we haven't got anyone suitable to play that position. And if we are going to go slightly possession, then he is sort of the perfect sort of player to play that role. But we'll have to wait and see, because I'm just right now baffled as to how we're going to play. And because of the numbers, we don't really know what's going to happen. We don't know if he's going to be a right back. If we brought a right back in, I could say, yeah, fair play. He's got a bigger chance of playing in the six. But even that's not been sorted. And I can't see who's going for the kid at right back right now.
Talking of kids, Avi, Conor Bradley played the inverted role, with, how do you pronounce that team? Krusler?
Karlsruhe.
Karlsruhe. He played, and I think why should
we agreed on Gina for once?
but why put the pressure on a young man's shoulders? Avi, if we're not going to sign a right back, then is he ready for that? It's such a sort of clever role. And we even saw Conor Bradley and Trent sort of, not be in their rigid positions. We even saw Trent. And this is why I probably don't want him to be in that role, is because him being in a sort of DM role would mean when the right back inverts, he would have to be and carry naturally some more lefty positions. And I don't think that's where I want Trent. It sort of spoils the dynamic that we have with Salah on the right as well. But can you see us bringing in established right back who's comfortable? Something like Arsenal did. Ben White's been inverting. They've just bought in Timber as well, who's been inverting in pre-season. Can you see Liverpool do that? Or can you just see once the budget comes back, we buy a few progressive destroyers, Trent will go back to right back and where he's used to inverting from?
I think Klopp said as well during that interview with Peter McDowell, I think that's the name, Asim, that we were looking for. I think he said that, look, Conor Bradley came back from a fantastic loan. He's excited by him. So, look, if you're young enough, Klopp will trust you. He's shown that he trusts like the likes of Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones, Trent Alexander-Arnold a few years back when he came through as an 18-year-old. If Conor Bradley shows enough, he may well play. I don't see him playing against Chelsea away, first game of the season, but he may feel that against the lesser teams in the Premier League at home, he may give Conor Bradley a chance. I like Joe Gomez the other day on the right-hand side, alongside Matip and Jarell Quansah in that 3 when they played second half against Karlsruhe. I like Joe Gomez there as well. Whether we can be dependable on Joe Gomez, considering his injuries, I'm not too sure, but he's certainly given us an option. He's certainly a better fit than Calvin.
But Joe Gomez isn't going to be the inverted player, though, is he?
He won't be the inverted. Conor Bradley has more to him, and Conor Bradley is an attacker first before he's a defender. He's still got some sort of flaws in his defending. Even at Bolton, he was brilliant going forward. And Klopp may think, I can give this kid a chance. I think we need to look at a centre back rather than a right back at the moment. I think we have options there.
Gene, why would you change it? Let's try to see it from that sort of base of the fan section of the fan base. They want Trent playing. They want to see, if they're saying that if you can't sign someone like Kimmich or Thiago doesn't provide the reliability to give us more games in that 6 role, then play Trent there and buy a Paulinho, for example. Not Paulinho, what's his name? Bayern Munich.
Lavia.
Kimmich. Lavia, just to develop into that sort of player that can start, taking that position in the next 2-3 years. But, why would you change it? I just sort of brought a few stats, as you know. In an average season, Trent 5th in the Premier League for assists. KDB obviously at the top of the tree. 5th in expected assists. Trippier of the top of the tree in that. Passes only behind Van Dijk, Rodri and Dunk. Through passes, first ahead of Bruno. Through passes from the right back, obviously a normal conventional right back position, and then later on inverting at the back end of the last season. Passes to final third, first ahead of Rodri. Why would you take him out of that position?
Look, Asim, the thing is, because I think, look, most Liverpool fans, what they want to see Trent is because we are so reliant on him. And we have been over the last couple of years in terms of our let's say, creativity. These fans want to see Trent further up the pitch so what they want to see is more damage. If Trent can do more damage to the opposition. But with the stats that you've given me, Asim, I've never been a big fan of him going, let's say, as a full-time midfielder. I want him to stay right back, and even more so in the inverted role, because that way, Asim, the way in the last 10 games, that from what I saw, is the way he was roaming around the midfield like it was his own sort of thing in that role. It gives you an extra body going forward as well, and it makes actual Trent's life easier because he's got an extra body. If he was to actually play in that, let's say, that actual position, there's most likely going to be a player less going forward because he's taking up that position now. So if he was playing right back, came into the midfield, and that's allowing another player to go forward, that creates an overload going forward. And for Trent, a player like Trent, to have an extra body to pass out. So I want to see him in that inverted right back role. The stats you've given me prove that he's arguably one of the best in England, and in practically every single stat that you've shown, he's up there in the top 5, let's say. Why would you want to change? But I understand fans ask him right now because we've lost 2 midfielders. Fabinho's gone, Hendo's gone, and so many of the other ones have gone as well. There's nobody else there in terms of Tsimikas is nowhere good enough. And we're thinking to ourselves, let's play him because he did a decent job in that inverted 6. And he played this position at youth level. That
he did more than a decent job. He was brilliant the last 7-8 games of the season. He was magnificent. You can't say he did a decent job. You
know what I meant, man. He did it really well. Let's say, yeah. And
I think
that was
go on.
Look, that was enough for fans to think, you know what? Yeah, Trent is good enough to play this role in midfield. I've got no issues with that. But then, why would I hurt my right back role when he's been so brilliant in that position for that this many years? We've seen him come inverted. We've seen him, and we've seen a different Trent. We saw his body language at the start of last season. It just wasn't right. Now, in the last 10 games, you saw a different Trent. You've seen how he's been in pre-season. He looks ripped. Let's go with what I've seen over the last 10 years. I don't really want to see him in the 6, but Asim, a lot's going to depend on who and when we bring in these players.
I think it's become a bit of a problematic issue. I think it's a good problematic issue. I think the issue is Trent's our best passer on the team, guys. Whether we like it or not. Yes, we've got Thiago, but we don't see enough of it. But Trent has so many array of passes. He can go short, he can go long, he can go sideways, he can go across the pitch. He can pass with his left. He can press between the lines with his passing. We saw one clip the other day where he just passes through the line and Szoboszlai picks it up. And that happens in that 6 role. I think he can play that role. But then if we're looking at a right back, I don't think, what do you need that right back to be? Do you need that right back to be a little bit more flexible that can go into this a 6 as well? Or how do you do it? I'm with Gene. I don't see Trent as a 6 every game. And I hope we don't see it because, yes, his best work is done in the inverted role and play as a right back. That's no problem. But it's obvious that Klopp believes that Conor Bradley is going to stay around. He's going to obviously be the understudy to Trent this season. And then he obviously must think that he's good enough to play that right back role because attacking-wise, there's no issue. It's defensively where he's a bit like Trent. It can go wrong horribly for him if a tricky winger comes up against him. And he's made a big leap as well from League One all of a sudden to the Premiership. That's a big, big jump. So it'll be interesting. It is certainly a good problem to have, though, and only Trent and the coaches know where Trent sits better at this season, and we'll see it. I think we'll see more towards the latter 2 games of the sort of preseason, the Bayern Munich game in Singapore and the game after that at home, I think, at the final game before the Chelsea game. We'll see where Klopp will operate Trent. And look, that's assuming we don't buy any DMs or we're buying one more. But I'm pretty sure we will obviously be buying someone in.
But Avi, look, you're sticking with that. And Wandering Seekers, he says, ask him, you're talking about the offensive stats. What about the defensive stats? If you actually look at Trent's stats defensively, especially since the change in system, his defensive stats are pretty good in terms of counter-pressing recoveries and general recoveries. They're very, very good. But I think there's a difference between him playing in this role and being in the 6. Because when you're on the sort of protecting the last line, and you're Fabinho, you don't have that room to sort of really go. If you have to do it with real, with belief. And Fabinho didn't have that belief, maybe because there was the midfield was so dysfunctional. We know what happened last season. We don't need to explain it again. But I think there's a difference because Trent had the luxury of knowing Fabinho or another DM is behind him, and he was initiating the sort of counter press, and he won a lot of duels, and we sustained attacks, and we went and created a lot of situations. When you're the DM, you've got a bit more responsibility. But does he have that sort of feeling, or does he snuff out danger if he's sitting at the base of midfield? And a lot of people are talking about we need to go into a diamond. I think when you see Trent coming into a sort of inverted role, we've seen this diamond already. We've seen it already. Fabinho goes on the left, allows Trent picking it up between the 2 centre backs, and there is naturally a diamond asymmetrical type of pivot working out between our box midfield. But I think as a rigid, set, fixed position, I don't fancy it. But maybe because Liverpool don't know themselves at the moment, guys, what sort of DM we need. Do we need? People are talking about Paulinho. Paulinho made. Guess who made? Well, I've given it away. The most recoveries last season in the Premier League. Paulinho from Fulham. Do we go for someone like that who's just a winner and provides the sort of extra luxury and provides a service and lets Trent do his best business? Or do we go for, like, are we saying, is a progressive beast, compromise on the sort of natural physicality a touch, but carry the ball as well? Because Fabinho, if you look at his progressive carries, especially last season, they weren't good enough. And Liverpool, if they want to be adaptable and versatile, then we need everyone to do a certain job to a certain level. And that wasn't good enough from Fabinho.
Look, Trent is not going to be a marauding six. He's not an aggressive six where he's going to be chasing, after players. He's not like a Mascherano or a Fabinho, on your heels. He's not that. He may well be, but we've certainly not seen it. Another thing, awareness is so key. And boys, you'll agree on this. The last 18 months, we've seen anything but from Trent from the right back position. When we talk about awareness, sometimes he doesn't even know where his bearings are. And yes, that's from a right back position, but as a six, you need to know instinctively where you are positioned on the pitch. Fabinho was great at that. Yes, okay, he had a bad season last season, but Fabinho sniffs out the chances. He blocks everything in his way. He knows where to be. You just got to look at that Barcelona game in 2019 at Anfield to know that positionally he was where he had to be. And we had to defend for our lives and made sure that we didn't concede a goal. He was everywhere. Can Trent do that as a sole DM in a six? No. Could he do that in a double pivot? No. He would need a six alongside him, like a Romeo Lavia type, like a Caicedo, like a Shuhamani, who does that for him. Trent hasn't got that. But look, that's a question for Klopp. How much belief does he have in Trent that, yeah, you know what? Chelsea away, the big games, Man City away, you're going to play our sole six. I can't see it myself.
Just to get that stat right, it wasn't recoveries, it was defensive duels. Paulinho came out on top in the Premier League last season, 3-3-7. But let's see what happens. I think, Liverpool, we keep mentioning that Liverpool are at crossroads, and it just depends. And I think this is a defining moment in the Klopp's era. Everyone talks about this Klopp 2.0, 100%, and I understand it. But I think this is a really defining decision now, which way Liverpool go. Do they bring that sort of assertive destroyer in midfield who can carry a ball, or do they go all in and say, you don't need a destroyer if you keep the ball 90% of the time? But let's see what happens, and it'll be interesting to see. And
what do we think of Paulinho though, if he was to come in as a six, as just a ball snatcher, as a on your heels six? He can play a bit as well. Let's not mistake. He's not just someone that just sniffs out trouble, just puts a tackle in. He can play a bit as well, Paulinho, and he showed that as he put in a clinic against us at Craven Cottage last season. Yeah, first game of the season, and he just carried that form on till the end of the season. But Gene, I want to get your thoughts on Paulinho. Like 70 million is what they want. 28-year-old. Does it matter about his age? And what do you think of that money? That kind of money, is that enticing, or do we just turn our nose up on it?
I can't see who's paying that sort of money for Paulinho. Look, we there's other players that we could have gone for.
It looks like he's broken his arm. But carry on, Gene. It looks like
anyway. No, don't say that. He's
injured in the friendly.
Oh no! All right, there you go. Anyway, look, in terms of Paulinho, look, we are never going to stump up that sort of cash. It's not us to go and spend 80, 70 plus million on a player that's 28-year-old. It just doesn't make business sense for Liverpool. He's not in the age bracket that Liverpool go for. But as a player, Prem proven, he wins the ball back. Asim gone through the stats of Paulinho, so it does make sense. But I just don't think he's a Liverpool signing. I think we've got more chance of going for Decore. And I think we will go in for Decore. That's why I mentioned Decore and Lavia. And I know a lot of people, and I think we're going to go for two. And I think they're going to be the two players that we're going to go for, Lavia and Decore. They're both sort of English, 20 fit the bill in terms of age, price.
Steady, Gina, steady. People will have you renamed as an ITK with that kind of talk. Steady.
As a person, listen, my name isn't Avi. They're not going to come for me. They're going to come for you. Whenever you come up with anything,
I don't.
For me, it's a personal opinion. I ain't no ITK. But look, I think we will go in for it simply because I think it makes sense. And especially, I think Moby mentioned that Liverpool have been watching Decore for a few years now, even when he was in France. So maybe this is the time. He had his year at Palace, their player of the year. It makes sense now for the next step up. But I get, a lot of people are mentioning by signing 2 sixes. Yeah, is that going to hamper Bajcetic? It probably will, because that's 2 in front of him, and it's going to hamper him. And I think Liverpool do trust Bajcetic. So Avi, it boils down to, it's going to be an interesting time as a Liverpool fan, because we don't know what road we're going to take. And I think obviously we're going to find out in the next couple of weeks who we get. And that will give us a hint as to how we get, number one, how we're going to play and going forward, if this was the right decision or not.
But Asim, Gene saying that, he would like us to go for like a Lavia Decore. Yeah, that's fine. But both are what, 19, and Decore, I'm pretty sure, is what, 2021?
22, 23, isn't it?
Might be 20.
And they got 1 season under their belt. And now Liverpool, right? We're trying to challenge Man City here, Asim. does that fill you with? I think they would be brilliant players for years to come. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if these are first season back as going man to man with Man City, is that enough? Is that experienced enough in that tiny games, that the two games that we play with them away from home and then at Anfield? Say say it's level headed or level on points for the league. Are those two good enough to be in that sort of like game, to be in that battle?
Look, Paulinho has probably got more experience, obviously, because of his age as well. He's been, probably playing European football as well in his career. But two things about this is, first of all, these four names that we've been Camara, Decore, Lavia, and there's one more as well that got mentioned. There's one
Oh my
more.
God, there's been about 1,000 names now. Gravenberg, that's one. That's we chucked in
Florentino
the
Luis.
Florentino
No,
Luis.
no. There's one more. There's four.
Kone.
No, the graphic that we put up on Twitter, we had four Decore, Lavia, Camara, and there was one more.
Go back to your Twitter. This is what I mean. Come prepared, innit? Prepare to fail. Prepare to fail. Fail to prepare.
Paulinho. These are all four good players, but I'm not happy. Why do we need? I don't think we need two sixes. There's a lot of sixes about these four players. 100% one, but now the problem is the reason why we're looking for two sixes now out of that four quartet is because we need experience, and we want Lavia. If he was 24, 25, we'd say, look, he's good enough. Let's throw him in and throw him in the likes of Manchester City and Old Trafford, like you asked, Avi. But we've got rid of Henderson and Fabinho, especially, that had experience and of European football and everything else. This is the reason why we're in a pickle. But in terms of profiles, I don't think there's a lot of defensive midfielders in that. And if you're going to get rid of Henderson, then I think we need someone who can play 6/8 as well. And if it's this system as well, then do a job in the 10 area as well. Like Henderson probably didn't do it very well, but he did, to an extent, a job. He could do it in his own little way. Didn't like to be edge of the box and receive it on the back to goal. We'd go on the outside and create space for Salah. But for me, then the second thing is Paulinho. When you talk about Liverpool going for and hijacking the likes of Caicedo and Luis, the first thing that the sort of, top reds, if you like, they say, oh, they don't see value. What do you mean by this value? If you're going to sell Fabinho for 40 million and get a bit of a premium for him, 40 million, I think we bought him for 43. We're absolutely doing cartwheels to the bank and getting 40 million for Fabinho. So if you're getting 40 million for him, then expect to pay 20, 30 million extra for your number one target. And there's exceptions, because we've got the likes of Alisson, we've got the likes of Salah, we've got the likes of Van Dijk at the wrong side of 30 now. And we need to make sure those guys are in a position that we're not in this 2-3 year transition period, because lo and behold, in 2-3 years' time, we're going to be needing to replace these guys. So we're in a position now to press the button on someone established. And I would be happy to spend 70, 80, 90 million on one defensive midfielder who can do a job as a destroyer and who's comfortable on the ball, because I think that's what's needed. And then if we need to go and in the market for next season and get a Lavia or someone else at a project signing, I'm happy with that. But our priority is an established one. And what value is Paulinho for 50, 60, 70 million that's being quoted by Fulham? If you're going to talk about value in Caicedo and Florentino Luis, then the same value. Where's the value for a 28-year-old? It doesn't go with the policy and the sort of approach that Liverpool have been doing. They sign players at 23, 24 at a certain value and bring them from here to a world-class level. There are obviously exceptions with Thiago, but that was completely different. It was 20 million and a payment structure. Where is the value for paying 50, 60, 70 million for João Paulinho? Tell me, because I don't see it.
Well, I think we can definitely, and I'm just looking at the phone. It does look like a bad injury for Paulinho. It does look like a broken arm. So we can just probably rule that out for now. But Gene, we talk about value for money. We look at his age. I remember when United lost the league, when Aguero had that moment, under Mancini, they won the league. And Ferguson quickly sort of realized he needed a goal scorer. He had Rooney, and obviously, but he needed just a goal scorer. He went out and got a 29-year-old Robin van Persie from Arsenal for 30 million, whatever it was, right? And what happens, lo and behold, his final season as manager, they win the league at a canter, right? Robin van Persie has a great season yet again, scores 30, 31 goals. Should we bypass the age at this point at Liverpool. I know this was the Moneyball effect and the methods way back since Kamoli, Edwards, buy them young, sell them thingy, but we're not selling anyone these days. Bobby Firmino, we didn't sell him at his peak. We've let him go at 30. Mane was 30. We didn't sell him at 27, 28. Salah, we won't entertaining any offers. Thiago, we brought him at 29. He's been a success here. He's been a failure here. Or, he's just not worked out for him one reason or another. But if we're looking at players, we want established players. Polini has proved that he can play in the Premier League. He's been brilliant. He's a great destroyer of the ball, can pass a bit as well. Should we really be caring about the age? Or do we just need someone that's going to come in alongside a Lavia, like a Polini, two of them, and we know we're set. We're good to go.
You mentioned 70, 80 million. Why and the age bracket? Why don't you just put in 80, 90 million and go and buy a Caicedo when he was available? It doesn't make sense. You get the best of both worlds. You get in the fee. You're getting a 23-year-old who's good enough to do both, and there's a sell-on value which makes sense. If you're a Liverpool, from a Liverpool perspective, I would love for us to actually go and buy and let's say an established six like a Caicedo or a Tuchemani. Question to you guys. You mentioned go and spend money. Okay, fine, go and spend money. Name me another one that's good enough on that sort of level, bar the two that I've just mentioned. You're going to struggle. You're going to struggle to give me names. You're going to give me the same names. Lavias, the Turams, the same names that we've been sort of been after.
Zubamendi.
Okay, one, that's what I'm saying. But there's, generally speaking, you're saying the world-class sort of level, there isn't any. It's easy to mention. They're all going to be, you said, go, Avi, so this was just Avi. You mentioned
why let Fab go then? So why let Fab go then, Gene?
Because Asim is 28 years old, 29 years old. We're getting 40 million for him. And plus, he wasn't that great last season, Asim. So I get why letting him go. And if
Asim, I don't think there's an issue. Yeah, I don't think there's an issue of him going. Look, Asim, he's probably been offered extortionate wages. I think it was a 50-50. I think where Klopp and the analytical team, the data team have said, it's a great offer, Fab. Fab said, look, the money's great for me as well. New country, new culture. Bobby's gone, Hendo's on the verge of going. Let me go out in Saudi. I don't think there's an issue. The issue is replacing Fab and Hendo with two players. And now, Tchouaméni, look, he's everyone's number one, yeah, if we could. If there's any way that Real Madrid, and they need to sell, they need to recoup money. But if there's any way or any signal that Tchouaméni gives us through his agent saying, listen, I'm prepared to move. You're talking 80, 90 million pounds,
Didn't he give us one on Twitter, Avi? Didn't he just recently give us one on Twitter, that choo-choo?
Are we jumping on that?
No, I was talking about my time in Alaska, and you guys all jumped on me for no reason.
I didn't jump on there.
Careful.
On a serious note, I want you, Bar Zubamendi that you've mentioned, who is, Avi mentioned, a 28-year-old amazing player. I want to know who this amazing player is, bar what you mentioned. That's going to take us to the next level in that position. Look,
yeah, but this is, I think, maybe Liverpool. And Atik, who's sent in a super chat, thank you very much. He says the club is stuck between a rock and a hard place. We now need an established number 6 rather than a young project. Selling clubs will charge a killing. And this is what we've been saying for the last 2-3 shows. Every single, and this is why Fulham were put unquoted 60. I don't know exactly. Someone LFC approved of saying.
No, they want 70 million. They want 70 million for him.
70 million.
Well, they've got Mitrovic. Yeah, they've got Mitrovic going for 50, and he's like 29, 30, really, nearly, and he's going to Saudi. I know it's Saudi money, but they can demand. Look, the season that he's had, if he was 25, you'd pay that 70 million. I think there's a little bit of that uncertainty because he's 27, 28, that we don't want to pay the 70 million. But if he's established and we think that he is the right option, and then you bring another project in like a Luis or a Lavia, I'm all for it. I'm beyond caring now about ages because this club is changing tact. So we should just buy the ready-made replacements. If it is a Polinia, go out and get it.
You know what's going to happen?
Because there ain't many out there. The Tchouaméni, you're talking 85, 90 million.
I tell you who impressed me yesterday, guys. If we knew that Fabinho was leaving early, I watched Chelsea versus Brighton. Mohamed Daoud. He played in the 6.
But he's been around for a long. He's about 27, 28 as well. Buscard.
Yeah, but he can do a job. He's a stopgap. Obviously, he's not won't take us to the next level.
He's not. He won't take us to that. You've seen a friendly game.
I'm not saying
You've seen a friendly game. You're judging him off a friendly. He's been at Mönchengladbach. He had a torrid time at Dortmund. He wasn't great at Dortmund. He's got free transfer to Brighton.
Emre Can was ahead of him.
A free stopgap.
I don't want. You're saying to me, go and like 1 minute you're saying to me, go and spend 20,
We're
30,
Liverpool
60,
Football
70
Club,
million.
Asim.
Yeah?
We're
Now
Liverpool
he's
Football
asking
Club,
for a
Asim.
stopgap.
He must be related. He must be related to him or
Avi,
something.
go for him, man. He
It was
deserves
a
a
bit
bit of laugh
quiet.
about.
It was a bit
10 minutes
quiet.
ago,
I
he's
was
saying to
trying
me,
to do it.
spending money. Yeah,
Guys,
now
you
he
lot
wants a
came for me. Yeah,
stopgap.
there's a lot of people came for me about Bajic's role in 18 months' time. But listen, Asim over here, the host, the co-founder
Hey.
of Born and Red, has just said Mohammed Dahoud at Liverpool Football Club. Mohammed Dahoud at Liverpool Football Club on a free. He said, "That's how."
Just
These are
stopgap.
these are the puppets. These are the puppets that I'm dealing with day in day out. You don't see these on the shows. Day in day out, I'm getting these kind of names thrown at me. Mohammed
I agree with you, by
Dahoud.
the way.
Look, it was a bit quiet. I just thought I'd stir it up a little.
I thought you meant
But
Dahoud, that
it got you
Bollywood
off,
gangster in
didn't it?
Mumbai. He's saying Mohammed
Avi,
Dahoud.
Avi,
It
he
got-
thought
it got you off-
he thought
it
he'd
got you
stir
off
it
the
up.
seas,
No,
didn't it?
Avi, he thought he's clever. He thought he'd bring it up. So me and you will have a go at each other. That's what it was. He wasn't expecting to jump on him.
Look at
That's
this,
what it
look at
was.
this, look at
That's
this.
what it was,
No,
man.
come on, Asim. Dahoud has been around for time. He was young at Dortmund, but didn't do anything. He's very average. No, but to be fair to Asim, we were linked with him when he was 18 or like
You
early
were,
on
Just
at,
before he went
at
to Dortmund.
Mönchengladbach. Yeah.
Yeah.
were.
But no, not for Liverpool. Come on, let's be a
Look,
bit sensible.
it was tongue in cheek. Before I get
Was it?
clipped,
You meant it.
before I
No,
get
you meant
clipped,
it. You said on a free.
Yeah,
on
it
a
was.
free.
Clip this.
And not only that,
I'm
Gina,
telling
he
you,
impressed me.
I've got his facial expressions to prove it.
Gina, he impressed me in a friendly out in the US in a friendly game. He impressed him. The scoreline was 5-4 or 4-3. I don't know what he did to impress you in the 15, 20 minutes that
yeah,
he played.
it's your lot, isn't it? Who play penalties after the match. as
No, I think you fancy him or something. He can't be for his footballing ability. Let me tell you.
Okay.
Anyway, let's get
go
to some
through a
super
few more super chats. Yeah.
super
Avi,
chats,
you go
yeah.
through 'em? Go for them.
Yeah, selection. He's coming more of a regular now. Listen, you can catch us Monday, Tuesday. We'll definitely do a show on Sunday. So selection, you can always come in any time of the week. We need a destroyer, in my humble opinion. We need an elite ball winner. It doesn't have to be a destroyer. The player needs to be just as immense on the ball, in my opinion. In this formation, we need players that are comfortable on the ball. That, for me, is crying out for a Zubimendi, Gene.
Yeah, look, you guys, you two are the Zubimendi, lovers. Let's say I have not seen too much of him, so I don't really want to take that comment. Asim, you can actually take it over me because you've seen Zubimendi more than me.
No, I think Avi's seen Zubimendi more than me.
I actually don't need. I'd actually. Let's not look forward to his opinion. He just said Mohammed Dahoud. We don't need his opinion on Zubimendi, please. Bhaskar. No more analytical.
you give me it then.
No, look, he's
Zubimendi.
He does
Avi,
all.
is the
He does
perfect
all three
balance.
things very well. Yeah,
Yes,
perfect balance.
he's the perfect balance. And I think Avi called it, and I think I'm backing on him on that. He's the perfect balance. If you want, we've mentioned this control chaos sort of phrase this summer, and how Liverpool we should be playing next summer, where we control games, a lot of possession, but also never ever leave that Jurgen Klopp heavy metal stamp on teams. And Zubimendi is an advocate of that. If you bring him in, he will win the ball. He will look very comfortable. And, this is what we need. He'll be very aggressive in the tackle as well and very comfortable in tight spaces. And if you want the perfect balance, I think he's your player. But I think we still need a player who can do a job in the 8/10. And this is the reason why I want a player in the 6. But our second player, where are those links to Thuram gone? Where are those links?
Before you go, I have a question to Avi. Avi, where do you see him playing in 18 months?
Zubimendi.
In there, in there,
nine.
in
You'll
there.
be ahead of Gakpo and Darwin. Don't worry about that. But listen, he's a metronome footballer, man. He's brilliant at everything that he does: tackling, pressing. He's a great passer of the ball. He's a Jabi Alonso, but with a bit more durability. He's gone again. See, he's run away after his Dahoud shot.
We battered him, man. We battered him.
Dahoud. Another super chat from Ash, any news on defender links? Don't see anyone saying anything regarding defenders. If we sign 2 midfielders, can you each name 2 realistically think that we can sign? I think it's 2 midfielders you realistically think that we can sign. Gene, I'll let you answer 2 midfielders and I'll go.
Look, 2 realistically, I've mentioned them before. I think we're going to go for Lavia and Decore.
Asim, 2 midfielders that you realistically want?
I think we'll get Lavia, and I know I tease a few people that I don't want. He's a good player, Paulinho. Don't get me wrong. He's very good in the tackle, aggressive. You said he played a lot of good games last season, including us. But I just don't want to see. I don't want us to spend 70, 80 million on a 28-year-old. I just can't see it. Realistic, I'd say Lavia, but then I think the next option is maybe Liverpool go a bit left field, where we haven't really heard about this name, and we might spend 40, 50 million on him. I go left field.
Hayden,
Pretty
Hayden
linked to every
Hackney.
six in the world.
Hayden
know,
Hackney
but-
from Middlesbrough, maybe.
but hopefully, I've not seen too much of Czech Decore. I'm not going to lie, but yeah, there's a lot of ball winners in that quartet we were talking about earlier. But if you don't want me to sit on the fence, I think Liverpool are going to go for Paulinia.
He's just broken his arm. That's like a 3-4 month layoff.
3-4 months.
Yeah, he's broken his arm, man.
Wow.
Has he not been listening, Gene? I just said that.
I
to
know.
the guys.
I know.
I mean, we've
I
knocked him for
didn't
six
know he's
today,
out for
man.
3-4 months.
That wasn't
I've
a
not
broken
been
arm.
listening
How
to
long does it take you to recover from a broken arm? 2 weeks?
Yeah, Patti Lau, it's all right. Off you go.
Nah, mate. If it's a fractured arm, you're looking at
Okay,
3-4
look.
months, 5 months even.
Oh, wow. Okay. Who else is in Lavia? And who else?
Lavia, no, realistic. So you can say Dahoud if you want.
No, no, I'm not gonna go. I don't think we're gonna get Zubimendi. I can't see who's.
No, I don't realistically saying. Yeah.
I don't think so. I hope it
Why
is.
is he gone? Has he not got a release? I checked on
He's
the comments,
he's
got a
not
release
really
clause.
flirting with the idea of playing outside of Spain, playing outside the Basque region of Spain. So he's pretty much an associate at born through and through. So I realistically, unless we hear some updates next week, I don't see him moving.
I think Florentina Luis, we might take advantage of our relationship with Benfica. We're not going to pay that release clause, but maybe we can have some get on the negotiation table and work our wonders. Maybe George works his magic.
Okay. Okay.
Which ones
What
did you
for your
choose? I
super
went out
chats?
of the stream.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna go with one. I want to go with Shuameni. I'm gonna go with Shuameni. I said it last weekend as well. I'm gonna go with Shuameni. Let's see.
But do you
Anyway.
think it depends on the Mbappe deal?
100% it does.
Okay.
And they're scrambling for the money. They're scrambling to get. They've already taken out a loan for Jude, so they're going to be scrambling for that money. It could well be that he goes to Saudi for a year and goes to Real Madrid. He might have to negotiate that himself. But I think if there was ever a chance of getting Shuameni, let's see. If they need to raise money and they've said to him, "Listen, you may need to be on the chopping block." If I was Liverpool, I'd 100% go for it. We know that we like him. Big up Jamie Phillips, by the way. Football Chats, go and subscribe to his channel as well. Great guy. A world-class DM in a very small pond. So we have to buy potential because Liverpool are always going to get value for money. So no 28-year-olds. And that's a great shout. And he's right. He's right. You know, we don't really go out of the norm. Thiago was different. He was coming off a treble at Bayern Munich, and he was available. And we got a deal done where we paid 4 million up front to Bayern. So no, I think we probably are looking at potential. Asim?
Next one, Ash. He says, any news on defender links? Don't see anyone saying.
We've answered that.
We've absolutely battered him today. He's lost his mind.
He's
lost his mind today, man.
I went out the stream. Why
These tacticians, man. They've lost them all, man.
Big up Hamza Amir, Blue Spoof. I don't see Turam in Liverpool chat. These ITKs, man. Hope that's tongue in cheek. I'm actually not a bad guy. But listen, if anyone knows, I'm coming for all the ITKs, including myself on Twitter. So just keep reading my tweets. Don't worry about that. I'm coming for every single one of them now. It does look as if he's dislocated his shoulder. So if you remember Fabio Barini, Asim, he injured his shoulder very early on at Liverpool, and he was out for 7-8 months. So that could be a horrible injury, but hopefully he gets back sooner. But yeah, I think that one's gone. What about Amrabat, boys? Sofiane Amrabat, I think one of you saw him at the World Cup and he gave you a little wink when you said, come to Liverpool. Reported to have been taking pain-killing injections at the World Cup, and Fiorentina looking to offload him. Would pass, especially as he'd be gone again for AFCON. So yeah, maybe that won't happen either.
So if he's taking injections and everything, why should he appeal to us? How are we? Are we not even for it?
Knowing our medical team, they'll still pass him off. They'll still pass him off. I tell you, what's a good shout though.
United though, so he probably. I think United is one for United. The United want, and I think the United will probably get. So if he wants United time to do one, I don't want him.
There was talk of Douglas Luiz in January. When we were looking for a DM, but Boubacar Kamara, someone that I really liked. I liked Marseille as well. Very effective 6. Has got a little bit more on him as well. A little bit got more about his game as well than just being a six. I think he's a fantastic footballer. First 2-3 months at Villa were tough under Gerrard, but
Yeah.
under Emery, he came. He shone like no other. Would he be? Would these two be enticing names, boys? And I'll chuck another one out there, left field. Pierre Højbjerg of Spurs.
Oh, please. I thought my Dawood shout was bad. Please. Come on.
Gina hasn't given it. Gina hasn't given me it, so he might be thinking. Gina's in two minds now. Shall I go for it? Actually, it might be a sensible shout.
No. I'm more with I'm more with Kamara because you mentioned Kamara and Dewey. So I'm more on that flex. I'll be honest. Look, I don't know
Kamara is a ball winner, isn't he, Avi?
Yeah.
Player of the season, by the way. Yeah.
Played really well.
And he can
against-
pick out a pass. He can pick out a pass as well.
And I think I know it was easy to dominate Liverpool's midfield last season, but they dominated our midfield in the middle of the park, especially when they played at Anfield late on the season. They were really aggressive, and we found it tough, especially first half. And then they started sort of protecting their lead, and we came at them. But I think as a duo, I think they really complement each other. Douglas Luiz and Kamara, picking them out and putting them in our team, I'm not so sure.
Gina, Douglas Luiz?
Look, a couple of years ago, when I watched him, I liked him, and I thought he was a good player, and he's a decent footballer. Do I think he's going to take us to the next sort of level in our six, Avi? Probably not. I want Kamara, man. I really like him. So from the players that you mentioned, Kamara, please, I'm not even going to entertain the third.
How old is Kamara?
Kamara's 24, 25. Can someone confirm to us? He's still young, still a young.
24, I think he is.
Yeah.
Not bad.
What about Wilfred and Didi? Stopgap alongside a six, a stopgap, another stop. Look, I'm just giving you names out there, guys.
Are you trying to beat my Dawood take?
I'm just saying players are available very, very cheap. He would be a very cheap deal to be done.
Avi, he's just not good enough. Is he still at Leicester?
Yeah.
Why hasn't he been picked up by a mid-table club?
So I don't know.
You tell me. He's just not good enough. He's just not good enough. And Didi,
guys, before you go, Edson Alvarez. Avi, you're the
good player. But again, last 18 months, he should have moved on from Ajax as well. But he's a good player. A very good, again, a ball. I think his stats are quite high in Europe, Asim. Yeah. You might want to do a little scout watch on him tomorrow for tomorrow's show. Bring up Edson Alvarez's stats because he's a ball winning, very good at recoveries, and he loves a challenge. And he's got that bit of aggression. I think he's Mexican. He's got that bit of aggression about him as well. Tyler Adams would be a sweet little deal.
I like Tyler Adams because every time I've watched him play, he's actually done played really, really well.
I mean, Tyler Adams trends a lot in the stats tables.
Yeah, he's a good player, but then Leeds are obviously a team that were a lot involved in. Getting attacked and from the opposition and stuff. So he was gonna get high on his stats. Yeah, there you go. No to Højbjerg. But
as Avi mentioned it, just in case you did forget, we got a game tomorrow. What do you want to see tomorrow, lads? Who do you want someone to get a game, or is it just about getting fitness up and getting those mileage in the legs before the main thing? And I wanted to ask you guys a question where. With Liverpool playing these sort of clubs that you never heard of. I know we're playing Bayern Munich shortly, but I see there's a summer series. Your neck of the woods, Avi.
Yeah, happening.
Aston Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea, Brighton. It's called Summer Series, I think it is.
It's like the International Cup that we were involved. We get involved in those. We get invited to those. But yesterday, the Arsenal United game was that they played at a Premiership pace as well at times.
That's what my question was. Do you prefer Liverpool playing these sort of teams, getting used to integrating new players and new systems? As we know, we need a bit of time on the training field and getting used to things. But do you prefer Liverpool to go straight into the deep end and play the likes of Arsenal and the Man City, because it's those intensity levels, and you don't want to surprise by playing the likes of these guys and Leicester, and then going into the Premier League and getting a shock? Isn't it good? But Arsenal, I saw the bits of it yesterday. Lisandro Martinez thought it's a good final.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan on soccer. I'm not a big fan of that. If you guys remember when we went to America, I think it might have been the last time we were out here in the States. We played against Seville. And the referee had no options but to give yellow cards. I think he gave a red card out in the end as well in a friendly. And that Eva Banega, the Argentinian little rat, they were going for us. and they nearly broke. Yasser Larouci was at the club at the time. They nearly broke his leg. That's how bad it was. And they were aggressive. Now I'm happy the way they were going. We're buying, we're playing second fiddle German teams. That's fine. It's just fitness at the moment. I'm not caring about performances. Although the performance in the second half against Karlsruhe was it was great. I loved seeing the free flowing football. Jota, McAllister, Jarell Quansah getting his sort of playing debut in the second half. More of the same, please. I want to see Joel Quansah. I want to see Conor Bradley more. I'm not sure where we are with Badicic's fitness. And I want to see Szoboszlai and Mac in the same team tomorrow. I'm not sure about Harvey Elliott or
injured,
Jones.
isn't he? Szoboszlai's injured, isn't he?
Oh, so he's injured. Sorry, he got a minor knock. Yeah, minor knock. But yeah, I want to see more of the integration of Mac. Trent, see where he plays tomorrow. And that's it. Fitness levels for me. It'd be nice if Nunes continues just getting a goal. Diaz, picking up fitness, sharpness. That's all I care about right now. Nothing more.
Fitness and sharpness, Avi says. Chin, do you want to see something extra? We saw something extra in the second half. Shimikas was playing left, inverted left back role, something that Zinchenko plays. But judging by your reaction, you didn't like it. Will we see something else, or will the manager surprise us tomorrow?
I hope not, Asim, if I'm honest. I don't want to see Simicas playing the inverted role. But look, I what I really want to see is, Asim, I want to see you tomorrow. Well, tomorrow is, I want to see us go with like 7, maybe not 11 starters that we think right now. At least go with about 7 or 8. I want to see how good they are. I was really looking forward to watching Dom and Mac together. But obviously, Dom's picking up that slight knock. But look, again, Curtis is back. Harvey's back. Let's see, where it's kind of with Dom missing us. Are we going to see Mac go on the right hand side, and we're going to see Jones pick up that position on the left? I actually want to see that, because I want to see Jones in that position and to see how good he is. Because if we do, don't sign let's say a progressive 8, there might be instances where he plays and Mac goes on the right hand side, or Dom plays there and Mac has a rest. So it's a big call for. Big season for Jones. So I want him to carry on his form. I think that's what I want to. So if he's getting a chance, I want him to sort of take it, just to put the pressure on whoever's in front of him, like the likes of McAllister. And also, Asim, we mentioned, if you mentioned if we're gonna see Trent in the 6. McAllister has played in the 6 before, maybe not in the lone 6. But he has played in a 6 previously. Maybe Jones plays in that position further forward, and he sits and Trent goes back to the inverted position. I want to see something like that, because then you're going to see McAllister and Trent in the 6, and that is a frightening sort of watch to have them two ball playing players in that sort of position. So it'll be an interesting watch tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to seeing how well they do.
Avi, flexibility. Before you come in, Boom Boom says really going into the season with those defenders. He also said great stream, and please, wherever you are in the world, watching now, watching live, watching later on, please likes and smash a comment, even if you're watching later. And also, if you haven't subscribed, then please do so. We're still on the race to 5K. Big plans.
I think. Carry on. Yeah, go on. No, carry on.
Yeah, so please, guys, if you haven't subscribed, then please do so. We're on the race to 5K. And the next big target after that will be 10K. So please, if you can do that, it only takes a couple of seconds. We'd be really, really chuffed if you can do that, and take part and support us in any way you can. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but I think we're before you go, I think we're on about 118 people away from 5K, guys. So for those that you haven't, guys, subscribed, do press the subscribe button, and hopefully, like we mentioned, there's a lot more content coming your way, especially with the season starting with the stuff that we're going to do outside the ground and all that sort of stuff. So definitely do subscribe to the channel.
Avicin says they're going to do stuff outside the ground. I can just imagine him going absolutely pagal outside the stadium. His videos going viral all over TikTok and Instagram. Can you just imagine it?
Yeah, he's great when Salah scores. You want to see Gene when Salah scores? I can't wait to have that moment with Gene when I'm holding him, when he jumps for joy and he goes absolutely crazy into a crowd. But I think one of your friends, Shaz Hussain, mentioned Nicholas Seiwald. He's just gone to Leipzig. He has gone to Marco Rose's Leipzig. Tidy player. 22. He is Austrian. Let's see where he is in another year's time.
TK, is that everything, guys? Do we need to cover anything else? Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, I'm going to have an early night, 4 a.m. kickoff for me. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to it. You just make sure you've paid up a monthly subscription to that LFC TV girl, okay? I've got your username and password. We're all good.
Well, it looks like Liverpool have they've splashed all their cash on Szoboszlai. I might have splashed all the cash on this cap. So if my direct debit bounces, you know why. So do not ring me at 4 o'clock if you can't log on. Do not ring me. Well, it's been an absolute blinder of a show, blockbuster of a show. Really enjoyed it. Insightful as ever. The Rola Shola is always part of the show. Gene and Avi going at each other. But yeah, I think the manager mentioned, I think when he came into the club, it was that phrase that, sort of took him through the 7 years from doubters to believers. And I think it's Klopp 2.0. And he wants us to trust him and the team and all the coaching staff. And this is what he's got from us. If anyone deserves a shot at the Liverpool 2.0, it's Mr. Jurgen Klopp. And we shall see where it takes us this season. It's going to be another roller coaster of a season. But before that, let's see and have a few relaxing, friendlies. And tomorrow should be nice. It's not 4 o'clock a.m. start for us, but it should be good. It should be good. But thank you very much for everyone for viewing and taking part in the comments. And I apologize as well. I've not been on it.
Fucking hurry up, man. Get Gary, hurry up. Man, I've got to go, man.
Avi is trying his best after getting absolutely walloped. Yeah, this is his moment to get a few words in. Let him have it.
You have to apologize, man. If I'm really professional. If I'm not sort of putting up the right comment.
You're waffling on like Bruce Forsyth. Get a move on it. Come on, yaar. Jaldi kar, yaar.
Why? Where do you need to go? You probably ring me after 20 minutes and say, Anji, can you sort of kill time for the next hour? Come on, Avi, man. Are you happy? Do you want to do
Very
the
happy.
outro? This is the
Very
reason why I make you do the outro, because I think you're good at it.
No, of course, I'm good at everything. Listen, the only reason you've got 4.89 subscribers right now is because of the chip, right? Wherever the chip goes, his fans follow. Wherever the chip goes, his fans follow. But listen, it's been a great show. Like and subscribe, guys. Just 3 hardworking guys that giving you a free football talk stream. I don't care what you guys call me, spoofer, waffler, whatever, and look, we'll get one right this season. We'll get one
He'll
player
get one
right
right
this
this season.
time,
He'll get one right.
I'll get one right. But apart from that, look, like and subscribe, spread the word, and we shall see you tomorrow post-match. See you later, guys. Over and out.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care. Have a good one.